why I think, hey, well, this is game shit. I'm not gonna hurt off.
Oh, wow. All right, I gotta ask you this. I gave you your flowers early talking. You never got the respect you deserved during your championship reign. Some of that may have been one slack up a push in certain areas, and I always thought you got the raw end of that. But I think you became so efficient in your title defense that you don't get credit for the IQ in your
I will down,
How much will you be using that? Considering Jake Paul doesn't have this background as a fighter, how much are you going to be outthinking him? You're going to think, okay, he's got a puncher's chance, he may not take out. If not, he's going to lose. How much is this going to be a game plan to talk about?
I don't get into what people think. Like, when you hear the word think, that's automatically uncertainty. So if I say I think, you guys are experts, you should fucking know. I know. I don't think. I'm always used to this. So when people start saying, if I say I think, and I try to travel myself to somebody else's brain and think
I'm trying to go live for you to like.
well, what I can't do is
So
I have to train my ass off. I'm gonna tell you, my coach has been putting me through the wire. But I wanted to quit when I wanted to slow down. He even made my training partners, my sparring partners run with me. He allowed them to come and break down film with the sparring session without me to make them better. So you
have to
spar
slow
somebody,
down
you get it
before
great
you
shape,
show many
the weeks
people
go
that
by,
like.
you
I'm
turn
just showing what is on the TV to the people, you understand?
Now when you train, you actually
There are some people that cannot access this.
build that camaraderie. So now
So they can
when
watch
you show
it
me
from
love,
my own
fuck me
channel.
up, I'm my hands down.
I have to look for
I'm trying to
something
wrestle the world.
higher.
Y'all, hit me in the body.
I have to
So at the
make
end of the
this
day,
thing go
you know,
higher.
I've never had, and I'm blessed to have that mindset. I never really give
Let me go and bend the other side.
I've always been an ultimate underdog. I always came out on top.
When you think about the end of your UFC run, how do you look at it? The last 4 fights obviously didn't go your way. You had a championship run before that. When you evaluate it and you say to yourself, what went wrong, how do you answer that?
You know, I think I had some choices that I made in life. You know, I got caught up in the lifestyle, and I feel like when I was doing that, you know, I was selling it separate. I can go out here and I can turn up and I can just be, you know what I mean? My personal life was different, and it's not. It's
cool,
very
right?
much aligned. And I was training my ass off, and nobody could beat me. Nobody really could win around. Like I was a problem solver. I'm the one that was solving the Rubik's Cube of Wonder Boy, Damian Maya, Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit, you name it, Darren Till. All these people that people could not beat. They had lost 7 fights. And Damian Maya had taken out people in 12 fights in a row. I wrote the book for beating guys to follow after it. That's why when you say it, I don't really need this respect. Down the road, people would document what I did. They would write about it. They would talk about it. They didn't like Muhammad Ali at the moment. Now we love him.
Yes, one person has
So I never got into this game. I got into it.
Forget about falling in and out of love with you.
I got that job. I got that hit.
They're saying we gotta let you go, so let's close with this. Everyone's saying, who's Jake Paul gonna call out? Who's Tyron Woodley? Who's Tyron Woodley gonna
Jake
call
Paul
out?
ain't gonna win. He ain't gonna win. I ain't getting no fucking tattoo, and I'm not calling nobody out. I'm calling out the boxing world. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. I'm fucking sharp. I punch hard. I work hard, and I got the best team behind me.
Does he have to get that tattoo in the ring if he loses?
I don't care what he do. When I made the bet, it wasn't even applied to me from the jump.
Also, I want to say your mom is here.
Mom
might be one of the greatest moms in human history.
I appreciate that.
Right there. Everybody knows it. Tyron, we can't wait to see what happens on Sunday night. Congratulations on all this, and we look forward to seeing you fight. There he is, Tyron Woodley, former UFC welterweight champion. All right, let's go now to the in-ring announcer. I believe he's got Amanda Serrano there with Ahmad Crump.
It's fight, boxing.
So, Amanda, this Sunday, we got Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Fireworks will be over at Rock and Mortgage Field House. Talk about your emotions and what can we expect from you.
Mexican champion. It's gonna be nothing but a gold night. She's coming to win, but I'm not gonna allow her to do that. Those are my belts. I worked really hard for them, and I'm the champion, but I'm going in there as a challenger. So I work hard.
Hey, well, welcome to Cleveland. Good luck to you on Sunday. We're glad to have you. Everybody make some noise. Give it up for Amanda Serrano.
There we have it, Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell back here in Cleveland, Ohio. We're just moments away from speaking with Amanda Serrano, who will join us here inside of our extraordinarily hot tent.
World titles in 7 different weight classes. She currently holds 2 of 4 belts at featherweight, 126 pounds. Those titles will be at stake in the co-main event of Sunday night's pay-per-view. Yamethel Mercado?
No, Yamalet Mercado.
Yamalet Mercado. I've been known to butcher a name or two. Mercado, a native of Mexico, found success. 122 in terms of weight, moving up to 126 to take this challenge. Can Amanda continue her journey right now, Luke, which is to become the undisputed champion at 126 pounds, while she continually waits for her opportunity to face Katie Taylor, who holds all 4 titles at 135. You want to talk about one of the biggest fights you can make in women's boxing? That is
This
right
is a
there.
big one, and I would also argue here is a case where you want to, everyone who is inside boxing knows who Amanda Serrano is, but there's a lot of folks who don't. And when the don't, when that portion of the audience begins to learn, they can put the kind of pressure on promoters and whoever else to make these kinds of fights.
She
This is a
deserves to
big,
be here. She's a
100%.
And she's still, by the way, like in the midst of her absolute prime. And I think that's the interesting part about, fantasy matchmaking for the future. And the
There she
champion
is.
is right here.
Bushwick is in the house, everybody.
Amanda Serrano,
Serrano.
7 division world champion. You talk about a great platform for Sunday night, co-main event on a Jake Paul pay-per-view. We know how much you've deserved, maybe more than you've gotten from fans, from journalists, for just recognizing the pound-for-pound greatness that you are one of the greatest of all time. Your record speaks for itself. How big is it now to get to show that on the pay-per-view level on a fight card this large?
It's definitely amazing. We worked so hard for this opportunity, for this great platform, and it's not for me. This is for the sport of women's boxing. We want to showcase that, we deserve this. And I'm not just fighting to defend my titles. I'm fighting to defend the sport of women's boxing. And I promise to all the women out there, I'm going to put on a hell of a show. And I know my opponent is going to do nothing less than that too.
You're the most decorated boxer on this card, right? That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not sure you can find, when it's like her and Manny Pacquiao in terms of boxing,
Yeah,
is
seriously.
being decorated.
So let me ask you this. Given what you've accomplished, what is the bucket list for you? Is it a certain kind of fight? Is it another title? When you think about what stone you haven't overturned, what is it?
Well, it's definitely to become undisputed champion. Right now it's the undisputed era. I have 3 of the 5, and I definitely want to go for that. Hoping next fight, I get through this fight healthy and well, and we go for the other champions.
The best part about Fight and Follow your career is you showed that in your last fight against Daniela Bermudez. It was maybe the toughest challenge of your career, maybe one of your most perfect, well-rounded performances. Is you can outbox a foe, you can walk him down and knock him out. Heck, you'll fight in 8 different weight classes if you had to. But it's going to be Mexico versus Puerto Rico on Sunday night against Mercado, who I'm sure is ready to bite down and have her biggest moment. Does this have war written all over it? How do you sort of look at that?
100% war. When you just say Mexico, Puerto Rico versus Mexico, then you have champion versus champion. She's younger than me. She's hungry. She has all of Mexico depending on her to get this victory. But I'm Puerto Rican. Yo tengo la sangre latina, boricua, and I'm going out there and she's gonna have to do everything she can possibly to beat me.
Interestingly, you've trained MMA, you've fought MMA as well, so you know what Tyron Woodley has to do in the main event. What's been hard about going back and forth between the training types to get ready for a competitive fight?
Well, MMA is totally different sport than boxing. I've been doing boxing for 10 plus years. And just the mindset of being able to get kicked, to get elbowed, to get a knee, and to be taken down is definitely the hardest part for me. I've been so used to be on my feet and stand up. So definitely wrestling, jiu-jitsu, but I've been working hard on those arts as well. So
here's what's interesting about this card is there's something for everybody. Tyson Fury's brothers on there, that brings in another clientele. But you've had firsthand experience in Puerto Rico at the Paul Brothers camp. You're on all access with them, getting to meet them, train with them. You and I, as a journalist, you as a fighter, are hardcore old school boxing fans. We're not necessarily welcoming the YouTubers in. What can you say though about what you learned about who Jake Paul is, the fighter underneath all that?
listen, I thought the same thing in the beginning. Didn't know if it was just for views, for likes, whatever the case may be. But he's come back, and each opponent is getting better and better. And I thought it was an honor for me to train with him in the gym. And he's a hard worker, just as he's a businessman and his YouTube and his businesses. He's he's training for real. You know, it's not hard. I mean, not easy work that he's doing in the gym. And I'm super honored that he gave me this opportunity to fight in the undercard. He wanted a woman fight on, and I was the chosen one. So I'm truly blessed, and it's too bad that I'm gonna steal the show from him, though.
Wow. We gotta let the champ go, but I wanna close with this. You'll be facing Mercado Sunday night, co-main event, 2 of your featherweight world titles at stake. It's hard to interview you and not bring up Katie Taylor, but you guys were almost gonna
You
fight.
knew we were gonna ask.
Hey, is that the most decorated, biggest fight that can be made in women's boxing right now? How do we get there?
I definitely believe so. Like I said, my goal is definitely to become undisputed champion. I want to become the undisputed champion in my weight class, my natural weight class. And then after that, I go win undisputed champion in another weight class.
Are you trying to get champion in MMA, or is it just a fun thing to get extra money, or?
No, it's definitely a goal to become champion in MMA and boxing at the same time. Even though it's really, really hard, but I think I'm a hard worker, and I think I can do it. But yeah, I definitely want to become MMA champion.
I mean, I think if anyone can do it, it's gotta be you, right?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, well, Amanda Serrano, co-main event, can't wait to see what happens, and best of luck to you against Mercado. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
There she
Have a
is.
good night.
Bushwick's finest, next to, Bushwick Bill, I suppose. There she is, all right. Right, Campbell, Lou Thomas here live at the workouts for the Woodley and Paul event. We've spoken to everyone except Jake Paul, you see.
Hey,
I think that's all that's left.
interesting. You want to get inside the mind of Jake Paul, just as, Amanda Serrano was illuminating what's it really like in Canada when the cameras aren't there, and you get to find out through the sparring, the training, is he the real deal? Jake Paul's shown up to this point. He can draw a big crowd. He can deliver the boom and the knockout. But his goal isn't to become just a pay-per-view brand. He's already that right now, which is incredible that he's only got 4 pro fights and where he's at from the commercial side of it. But he wants to prove all those gatekeepers wrong. The gatekeepers who say, you're not real boxing.
Right.
I mean, the fact that he's dedicated to trying to prove that, and that's the road he's willing to go down and wants to go down, there's a different kind of crazy within him. I want to find out what flavor that crazy is, Luke, because he's got millions of reasons not to do this for a living. You know that.
And also, dude, Tyron came in here, dialed in, right?
Yes.
Did you not notice that he was insanely fun? I've interviewed Tyron Woodley for a decade, and this is one of the few times I've seen him that insane.
And we talk about, in some areas of the overall weight picture in MMA, you can be 10 pounds apart. Bantamweight, featherweight, flyweight, all that stuff. But that leap between welterweight and middleweight in MMA is a 15-pound window. So for him to have had to fight and suck down, he's always been in great shape. But to make that 170 limit for MMA, we know these are some life or death sometimes weight cuts. I mean, it's extreme business. How much more energy is he going to have coming in there at 190, all muscle, ready to go? That can change it. Look at Michael in the MMA side of welterweight. How much he's just become a different fighter is moving up. Time and again, we've seen this. But you become more
But with Michael Chiesa, there's a bit of a difference though, right? Michael Chiesa, when he went up a weight class, he went, for folks who don't know, he went from 155 to 170. That paid dividends for a lot of different reasons. One, the weight cut was killing him. Okay, fair enough. We know that fighters who come from the wrestling side of things have cut a lot more weight than boxers do on average. But it aided the physical needs that he had for wrestling. Just putting on weight, though, because it's more comfortable, doesn't mean it's more athletically advantageous. I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves about Tyron. He looked to be in phenomenal shape. I think early he will be. The question is, by around 6, 7, 8, is that extra weight going to matter?
Well, it's really, though, that they're centered on the weight cut without having to make that cut. Will that change him at all? Will he have more stamina than he's ever had? That's the thing. We really don't know about Jake Paul's fight stamina. Forget Jim's stamina. They're 2 different things. We don't know if this fight goes to the 6th, 7th, 8th round. What Jake Paul's going to look like, what version. I think we kind of know, unless it's just a crazy war from the start, that Tyron can go 8 rounds. He can go this distance. He's been a 5-round championship level fighter. So those sort of intangibles coming in, maybe they're even in our eyes in power. Maybe, okay, Jake's naturally bigger. Tyron says, don't believe that weight disparity. But we know from the standpoint of certain intangibles that you can only get from having been a decorated MMA champion, he does have advantages over Jake that I don't know if everybody's talking about on the same level. Bigger, younger, stronger in Jake. But Tyron's got some of those things that you can't learn in the gym.
Dude, I will say this for Jake, he's got incredible amounts of gumption to want to take on a guy like Tyron Woodley. Yes, okay, you can, dismiss it if you want. You know what, how about this? Let's put a pin in this conversation. Let's go to ring announcer Ahmad from?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time. He is home, ladies and gentlemen. This man right here has over 60 million social media followers. He is trained by former pro boxing contender BJ Flores. He has knocked out former NBA star Nate Robinson, and you saw him in his last bout. He knocked out former MMA champion Ben Askren in the first round. He has created more buzz in 3 fights than any fighter in the history of boxing, and he's doing it at home. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise and welcome home. Give it up for the problem child, Jake Paul!
Here we are back, Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell in downtown Cleveland, and there is the man, BC, that everyone, in one level or another, has come to see.
The hometown boy makes good and comes home, got a nice ovation there. 24 years old, Jake Paul. 3-0 with 3 knockouts as a professional fighter, but obviously the big hook in this one and why those betting odds are so close, why we are this excited is Tyron Woodley represents a danger, a skill level that Jake's 3 opponents haven't yet. But that's to take nothing away. As Ahmad just mentioned over the microphone, have we seen a pro fighter through just 3 pro fights gain this level of attention for his fights? We've seen pro debuts popped up before on big undercards or on national television. We haven't seen guys 3-0 headline pay-per-views as the draw in this game.
The A side.
And, you know, talking to the Paul brothers, the brief times we've had the chance to, man, they're not scared of this platform. They are not scared of this sport. They are not scared of this smoke and the danger that it brings. You have to be wired a certain way to achieve in the areas of entertainment at the financial levels and the subscriber follower levels they have. Luke, I don't know, again, what exact strain of flavor that crazy is, but there's a confidence and a smarts in there. Jake Paul has that. I don't know how you quantify that. I don't know if it means he'll achieve his boxing dreams, but he's not afraid of this moment. You got to give him a lot of credit for that.
No doubt about it, he's not afraid, but what's interesting about it is it sort of cuts both ways. On the one hand, can we think of a fighter 3 fights in who has generated this kind of buzz and attention for himself? No, not offhand. I cannot think of one. Although, yeah, no, even Lomachenko, but even with 3, it wasn't quite exactly like this. What I will say though is the criticism there would be, yes, but when you're that popular, you can engineer your entry into the sport on almost whatever terms you want. That said, what's interesting about Tyron Woodley, which we've been saying all this time, yes, this is something of a hand-picked opponent, if you want to say that for Jake Paul, but there's just a clear escalation of danger and a clear escalation of stakes that he elected on his own to take. And I think for that, if you want to hate on the fight, hate on it. If you want to hate on Jake, hate on it. I don't know that you can necessarily hate on that decision.
No question about it. And I think you have to respect the decision. I mean, both brothers, really. I didn't love the Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul fight from the overall entertainment value and the style of the fight in the end that we thought could happen. But Logan still took on a fight in which he could have been badly embarrassed and one-punched at any point. And Jake is saying, look, I want guys in there that have a chance to knock me out. I want to prove to you how serious I'm taking this game. And like Tyron Woodley, while we praise him for having people like Pedro Diaz and Floyd Mayweather to certain degrees in his corner or in his camp, also like Jake's brother Tommy, I'm sorry, not Tommy, like Jake's brother Logan, they've also sought out professionals. There's BJ Flores right in front of you right there. A cruiserweight title contender in his prime. There's Jay Leon Love, who we saw getting a little verbal dust-up with Tyron Woodley in the locker room before Jake's victory over Ben Askren in his third pro fight. They know what they're doing. Jalen Love was a Floyd Mayweather promoted fighter, got really close, fought for a world title. You know, was a tough out. They're sparring with John Pascal. They're sparring in Puerto Rico in a professional camp. So they've got every opportunity financially, influentially, to max themselves out and find out what we have here. I think we would both agree that Jake's taking it more serious than Logan, although Logan will be on the broadcast Sunday night, you know, and he's certainly still in play to make big fights. Jake's a little crazier than Logan. Jake's a little more willing to take chances. Those are words from Logan himself, by the way, to describe the difference between them. And, you know, to go in there and look for a knockout against a former world champion in any combat discipline, you got to have that confidence level.
In terms of his overall career, he is asking the world to grade him on a curve. In terms of this particular fight, he is not. Consider, we were there in Miami. Logan Paul basically had no chance against Floyd. The question was, to what extent could you turn in a redeeming offer? And your mileage may vary about to what extent he did. Jake Paul is not doing that. In fact, we talked about it earlier. Go look at your favorite odds maker. They've got Jake Paul as the favorite. Not a significant one, but they've got him at about a plus 200, 250, well, excuse me, minus 200, minus 250 favorite to win. This is a guy, well, again, when you talk about his fourth fight, you have to understand to take the managed expectations. On the other hand, this isn't, hey, let's see how well I can do against Tyron. This is, we got to beat this guy.
Absolutely. And he's responsible for a lot of the attention, as I mentioned earlier, about this boom of crossover celebrity, former retired fighters getting back in the game. And, you know, he's got no problem being the face of that. And I think he has the potential to carry on in the face of that with wins because he's the most aggressive in selling fights from his behavior and activities. And we feel through 3 fights that he's also going in there to go for the knockout, which is key. I can't wait to see where his skills stand up in this test against Woodley, certainly. That's why we're so excited for this fight. But he's also a decent athlete. You know, you talk about the foundational things that he's bringing in. He's a young boy at 24, but a big boy. And he's tough. He can punch. We're going to find out probably in this fight if he can take a punch on the same level he can talk or dish it out. But if the odds are that he can take a punch, Luke, and that he's willing to really do what it takes to win close fights, I'm not trying to tell you you have a future title contender, but I am, without a doubt, telling you you got a ticket seller. You got a guy who's going to be comfortable on the pay-per-view level, whether it's against the Tommy Furies, Anderson Silvas, retired ex-boxers, or eventually down the line, you know, somebody who's equal to his skill level within boxing. He's going to have the best chance to get there with all these things we're talking about.
By the way, it's not my imagination. These are the colors of the, by the way, I can't see. These are the colors of the Cleveland Browns. Is that a black shirt or a brown shirt? I can't quite
There's a lot of
tell.
brown and orange going on there. These are Cleveland Browns color. He's representing him and his brother, born not too far away from here in their suburban hometown. Cleveland's home. I hope we get some Stipe Miocic, former UFC multiple-time heavyweight champion. I hope we get sightings of another one of Cleveland's own in terms of combat sports. But like I said, I'm looking forward. He got a great ovation here in Public Square in downtown Cleveland. I'm looking forward to hearing that crowd's reaction to him on Sunday night because he doesn't hide that side of his selling persona. He'll play the fool. If that's the best chance for you to buy a ticket, to see the fool, to cheer against the fool, he'll play the fool. He's more than willing.
By the way, speaking of Stipe, if memory serves, this is the first, let's call it major fight, at least in terms of the scale and the audience, since Stipe fought Alistair Overeem. I believe it was CM Punk was on that card as well.
203.
203, yes. This is the first time that a big fight has been back. Now, were you at that event, the UFC 203 event?
I was at the UFC 201 about 2 months earlier where Tyron Woodley captured the UFC welterweight title from Robbie Lawler, but later that fall. You can argue CM Punk brought a lot of attention, but Stipe got the hometown boy treatment from the loving, adoring fans here.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see relative to Stipe what kind of draw Jake can be. Also, I'll say this. I mean, Jake is going to have not traditional fight fans. Stipe is going to pull more or less traditional fight fans. Jake, I feel like, is going to have a bit of a different cross-section of different groups.
That's why it's hard when people ask me, when I do radio interviews to promote this fight, because we're having such a prominent role in hosting a lot of the events this week. And then people ask, like, will this be a commercial hit? Will this sell pay-per-view buys? You can't underestimate the size of the audience that the Paul brothers bring, the the different chapters of a potential fight fan who are non-traditional without question. It could be the lapsed boxing fans who love a fun fight. Maybe they got hooked in the storyline here. It can also be all those social media influencing fans. For Logan Paul, it was anime fans. It was video game culture fans. For Jake Paul, it's, he's done some Disney acting, done some other things like that. There's a large pool of, I know sons, I got twin 13-year-old sons. Their friends don't think I'm all that cool, Lou. Maybe if they saw me sweating in this shirt, they
Yeah, you're not cool.
They don't care that I get to go interview Conor McGregor, cover the big fights. Oh, they found out I got to fly to Puerto Rico to see with the Paul brothers. That's the coolest thing you can be right now. I use that to gauge because my sons love them to death. They don't give a crap about this fight game unless Jake Paul's in it. So that shows you the potential of impact. Now, is that an audience that buys? Do 12-year-old kids convince their parents to buy? We're gonna find out Sunday night with this one. Where you're bringing in the MMA fans, you're bringing in the boxing fans. You are also bringing in. I don't even know. Look, I'm so old. I don't even know what fans he's bringing in. Okay?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. You're right about is this the audience that does the purchasing? I don't know. I will say though, not only is it Sunday, so it's not really competing with any other fights that might be on Saturday night. It's going to be starting at 8. They're having a bit of an earlier start time for this.
Love it.
Because I wanted to mention something you talked about, BJ Flores, who, interestingly, a decorated boxer of his own right, also was an ESPN analyst for a time. Tell me about BJ Flores. Tell me about him. What was he known for? How would you assess him?
From an analyst standpoint, he had his big close-up on NBC Sports. He was the analyst for that series, and he's done multiple Olympic telecasts, which is a lot of in-depth analyst stuff. But look, as a fighter, he was a cerebral boxer. He was big. He's a good-looking guy. In his younger days, he was much more cut, and he looked like a puncher, but he was much more in a division cruiserweight, which often has big punchers, a smart jabber, a boxer. So you want to talk about a guy who's not only potential good coach because of that background, but just really good analyst work on NBC Sports. Like I said, the Olympics. This is a guy who understands the transition from amateur to pro and has the grassroots knowledge. Again, just like Woodley and the guy he's associating himself with, you could do so much worse. These are the right minds in camp. Ex-fighters who have had success on the pro level, have fought for world titles like BJ Flores, and obviously Jay Leon Love has. Smart guy in his corner. And I think for Jake, we know that there's some pop there, but it's more important to have guys teaching you the foundational of jab and move and bend at the waist and come up big with the uppercut. He's got to master those fundamentals. It's going to be key at this point.
What did you see when you went to visit Jake and Logan Paul in Puerto Rico?
It could not have been a less glamorous setup. It's a nondescript gym attached to an elementary school, attached to a nursery that is as boxing as you could get. The smell, the posters on the wall, and the lack of air conditioning, and you got to earn it there. And, to see not only the professional coaching like we talked about, and Logan Paul, his coach the name is jumping out for me. He was very outgoing fellow. I remember we had him on, we interviewed Logan Paul's coach.
Yes.
He was running the show there, and he's a strong mind in this game. Jake was there with his team. You saw John Pascal, the former light heavyweight world champion, who's training with them. It's a serious training camp. Yeah, Logan or Jake, we'll crack an off joke. We'll ham it up for the camera. But look, I don't need to tell you this, and maybe we'll see it soon when Jake if he takes the shirt off. They're in sick shape. They're young guys. Jake 24, Logan 26. But you would be able to smell it. I spent a lot of BO there, right? A lot of famous fighters have gone through that gym in Puerto Rico. But if this was a joke, you'd sniff it out right away when you're there. It's a professional training camp, and these guys have lived up to the expectations of how they treat it. Luke, when these guys were still doing exhibition bouts in the UK with fellow gamers, what's the one thing I said that was really positive? I said, okay, it's got its audience that's separate from the regular boxing audience, but at the very least, this is not the celebrity boxing we grew up on. Screech from Saved by the Bell or Todd Bridges from Different Strokes. There's a respect for the game and athleticism, a power, a speed. Jake Paul right now is as real as he can be in terms of being taken for, as legitimate, because he's lived up to the part expected through 3 pro fights. Maybe not matchmaking level, but now we're transitioning right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this workout. Again, you never want to read hardly, well, not too much. Almost, I won't say nothing at all. I will say, for what we've been shown, and that's key here, what you've been shown, Woodley looked a little more crisp.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And he's a guy who, you know, maybe pushing 40 years old, maybe coming off 4 straight defeats in the UFC. But as we mentioned earlier, like some of that was, he was in his own head. And he mentioned to us he had his own distractions. He didn't put his best foot forward in those 4 fights. You know, that wasn't maybe a representation of where he was really at in terms of his stock. His career on that side fell apart, and he's going for it and making this transition. But he is still an athletic, you know, knockout threat. And then you mix in all those things we talk about how easy he may have been able to transition during this camp and picking up some of the stuff that Pedro Diaz and Floyd have been training him, you know, teaching him, that he's got the mind for this. So, man, it's getting me more excited about the possibilities. I think when this fight was first announced, I thought, you know, Jake is bigger. You know, I wonder if this is perfect matchmaking. And the more you watch video of Tyron, the more you see him interviewed. That's why the betting odds are where they're at. I don't think it's just a puncher's chance. I think these two are going to go to war on Saturday night. And it may not even come down, Luke, to who's picked up boxing faster. It may just come down to who's going after it and wants it more in that spot. So it's going to.
I'll also say, look at the hat there, just a Disney kid. You know, there's the training component. There's also or you know what? Put a bit of the conversation. Let's go to Ahmad Crump in the ring.
Coach, they want some volume. Coach, they want some volume. Right here, perfect. And one more time, everybody, make some noise. Give it up for Jake Paul, everybody. Give it up, give it up. You know what? Just seeing you when you was younger at the Cavs games, and now you have absolutely taken over the city. You have taken over the boxing world. You're coming home, and you're taking on Tyron Woodley. One of your tough opponents. What can everybody expect from this fight on Sunday?
A movie, a knockout, a historical moment. I'm gonna turn them into a meme. That's just gonna be all over the internet. So if you want to be a part of it, get the pay-per-view now. I'm telling you, this is Cleveland. Ohio people are the best people. We work for everything we have, and to be able to bring this home, this is surreal. I kept on looking around because I'm just like, how did I get here?
You know what? And just you're fighting in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, where you watched all the Cavs games growing up. 18, 19,000 fans strong. Talk about the emotions that's going to go through your body like in front of hometown fans.
You know, I'm just trying to keep the nerves aside. I'm trying to stay focused on the prize. You know, I think after I beat him is when it's all going to hit me. But I can't go into this fight with nerves. You know, I was talking to Stipe, who was also from Cleveland. And when he fought here, he said when he was walking out, he got nervous. You know, all his friends and family are there. So, you know, I'm trying to keep the nerves on the side. It's not good to fight with adrenaline. It's not good to fight thinking about anything other than the fight. So I'm focused, and afterwards, we're going to turn up with the city.
Jake, you have put on for the city. Make us proud, everybody. One more time, give it up for Jake Paul. Hey, before we cut out of here, I do want to thank our friends from Public Square. Our friends from Public Square, thank you guys for allowing us to have this event right here. Great host. If you're looking for a great place to have lunch, this is the place where you want to be. If you work downtown, you got to come down here. The atmosphere is absolutely amazing.
All right, we're back. Luke Thomas here with Brian Campbell, just moments away from speaking to the main event man himself, just behind us right here. Jake Paul, problem child. He removed most of the vowels there from problem.
He's back home, 24 years old. I believe what we saw in there, that is,
There he is.
called content creation, Jake Paul. Okay?
Content creation.
Great to see you, buddy.
Good to see you
Great
guys.
to see you.
We're live. What's
You
going on?
mentioned that this is kind of just a dream out here, okay? You main eventing pay-per-views, 4 fights into your pro career is a dream. What does it mean to like literally be in public square here in Cleveland at a public workout? I mean, you couldn't have thought about that.
I couldn't have thought about this. I couldn't have dreamt it. That's why I was just looking around. I was like, how am I here? This is the city that made me. To bring this one home, it's the perfect crescendo to my boxing career that's, just starting out. But looking around, seeing friends and family, seeing this beautiful city, I'm just having fun. I'm trying to soak it all in because you don't get moments like this twice in life.
We just had Tyron Woodley in here a little bit earlier. Gotta say, I'm sure you know this already, but it is worth pointing out. Looks to be in tremendous shape. Looks like he took this seriously. I'm guessing that's actually what you want, right? Because if you took it seriously and you beat him, what can folks say after that, right?
100%. He said he's training like he's fighting Mike Tyson. Floyd Mayweather's training him. And you can tell he's in shape. He's got the six-pack back. He's looking good. He's not messing around. This is his biggest fight ever. And the whole MMA community is counting on him to represent them and to get the W. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And when I beat him, there will be no excuses because he was trained by Floyd Mayweather, because Jorge Masvidal said he was going to knock me out, because he took this camp and had a 14-week camp. He didn't, we didn't give him 8 weeks. We signed the contract 14 weeks out. He has no excuses.
I want to find out something here, Jake, because you've had so much success financially, drawing attention-wise, entertainment-wise. It feels like whatever you and your brother are touching, it's moving mountains. So shout out to you guys in that regard. You'd have to be a special kind of crazy then. And I know you got this question asked a lot when you immediately made the transition to boxing to take this on. So what kind of crazy are you that this might not be the smartest choice for you at 24 years old to take this on? You can make money in many different avenues. How do you explain doing this and then coming in like I'm a badass? They're yelling for you out here.
Let's go. I love Cleveland, baby. The fans are already lit. This is amazing. But look, man, I love boxing. I fell in love with it. Something about knocking someone out, cracking someone in the face. My whole life has been a fight. I've never got anything handed to me, so I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I was put on this earth to fight, and I like challenges. I'm driven by challenges. And I wanted to be in the NFL when I was a kid. I wanted to be a pro athlete. So now when my career comes back full circle from, doing all the content, YouTube, Disney, acting stuff, to be able to be an athlete again, I love it. And now this is more than just, fighting. This is about my team, my friends, my family, my purpose to create history. I have the chance to do something that very few humans once a century in this sport get to do. And I'm not going to live that down, and I'm not going to mess up and slip up.
Did you plan to become a fighter pay advocate?
I did not plan,
But you had
Apparently, I'm the advocate for that now. And hey,
because every time you do it, someone asks Dana White about it, so then he has to respond to it, and it just repeats itself.
It's a full circle. And look, his fighters can't use their voice. If the UFC fighters talk about how they're not getting paid, they're going to get shelled. They're going to get put to the side. Dana White's not going to put them in fights. So I'm really the only person that has a big platform that is speaking up on it. And when I did, everyone agreed with me. I was like, okay, I'm going to run with this more because it's something that I do believe in, and I do think it's something that needs change, even for boxers. I made it a point on this card to take less money to make sure that the people on the card were getting the biggest paydays of their career. So I'm not just, saying it out loud. I'm actually taking the actions to try and make a difference because this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And so I think people deserve to get paid.
We say it's the hardest thing. The training? Because my understanding is you run 50% of this whole show, at least for this weekend. Is that managing those affairs we're talking about, or the trainer or the combo of the both?
All of the above. You know, boxing's a 24/7 job. Training for a fight, training camp, sleep, eat, recovery. You know, not partying, sober, no distraction, no girls, like that type of stuff. All of it makes it the hardest job. Plus the promotional side of it. I've probably done 75 interviews in the past 3 weeks.
I believe it.
Nonstop.
Never would have got this sweaty though, Jim.
Never this sweaty. Never straight after a workout. But hey, you know, there's the first time for everything.
Can I confess something? I was a Jake Paul skeptic for a long time. Total hater. You turned me. And I'll tell you where I turned is when I saw you had the MMA community eating out of your palm when you were trolling them. I could not. Were you surprised at how easily you managed that?
You know, no, that's what I come. The background that I have is trolling, is the internet, is marketing, is twisting things, and using that to flip it back on people. So I understand that game more than anything, and so I knew what I was doing. I knew I was gonna piss off the community, put them in my hand, and then be able to do whatever I want with them. But I appreciate you saying that. You know, at first I do seem arrogant, I do seem, you know, loud, obnoxious, but there's a deeper, exactly, there's a deeper thing to everything. And
you gotta tell us, what did, last question, what did Daniel Cormier say to you at that UFC event?
Yeah, he came up to me and was like, "I'm not the one to play with. Don't play with me, man. You better keep your name or my name out of your mouth." And I said, "Wait a second. You spoke about me first. I didn't say anything. You talked about me on your podcast, and then I responded and called you fat. And now you're mad. What are you gonna do? You want to come beat me up?" He said he was gonna slap me when he saw me in person. So that's why I took off my glasses. I handed it to my security guard, and I was ready to fight. But you didn't do shit.
But it has to blow you away at how easy it is. You could just almost go through your phone and pick out a name and go, "Let me see if I can get this guy to want to publicly fight me." Is it literally at that point now where you're setting the web and they're falling right into it?
I think so, man. You know, after my brother fought Floyd Mayweather, I realized that anything's possible.
What was the biggest lesson? Is it that, like, that he exceeded expectations? What did you take away from that fight when you really thought about it maybe a week or two later?
Yeah, I think he exceeded expectations. My brother fought a good fight, and that maybe people don't want to admit that this is more of a business than it is a sport.
Okay, well, we talked about your ability to troll anyone from your background. You're trolling MMA, media, fighters, fans, everything. What about the boxing hardcores? Is your mindset set on, I want to win over the boxing hardcores and show you that I'm one of you? Or is part of you still being like, it's kind of a troll job to be main eventing a Showtime pay-per-view and have my own deal? That's a little bit of a troll job.
Yeah, look, I would love the boxing community to fully embrace me. I think a lot of people have already, but now it's the boxing purists who maybe fully don't understand exactly what I'm doing. So I would love that respect. And like I said, all I'm trying to do is have boxing become one of the top 2 sports. I want to take over the NBA. I want to take over the NFL. I want to take over MMA, because MMA took over boxing for a long period of time. And I believe that with the lightweight division, you know, the Garcias, Haney, Gervonta, the heavyweight division, all the fights that are about to happen, and then add in me and my brother and some of the YouTube creators that are boxing, we can make this sport go #1. And that's all I'm here to do.
He's Robin Hood, basically. All right, he's giving MMA fighters their biggest paydays. He's trying to put boxing back in the headlines. What you know?
I don't know. We asked your brother, we did this in Miami with him, why he didn't do MMA, because we knew he wrestled at a pretty decent level in high school. Was MMA never a thing for you? Was it because of the structure? Like, how did boxing end up being the one that you got into?
You know, it's weird. It sort of came about when people were talking smack online, and we were like, let's just settle this in the boxing ring. It just seemed like the thing that made the most amount of sense. And when I put on the gloves and started sparring, I was like, wow, I'm pretty good at this. And that's really where the love came from.
Speaking of love,
I gotta get this in. I gotta get this in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have I seen footage of you in your, I think it was your old LA mansion, I could be wrong about that, beating up AJ Agazarm? Is that true?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, how many MMA fighters, I know, of course, he's from jiu-jitsu more famously and whatnot, and has moonlighted MMA. How many MMA fighters has that repeated itself for in training?
A lot. And nothing against MMA fighters. I respect MMA fighters. You know, if I go into an MMA fight, they're going to tie me up and choke me out. AJ Agazarm, we did an MMA little mess around. and he choked me out. Okay, cool, you got me, bro. But in sparring boxing, that's my territory. You're coming where I'm going. And it's different. Boxers are a little bit more efficient with striking. They add up the numbers. They have the head movement, and so it's a different thing. And I've taken out a lot of MMA fighters in sparring, but you know, it's just the name of the game. It's like a fish out of water. It's comparing apples to oranges.
Tyron Woodley is obviously the toughest test of your career, and we respect you for taking that on. But we did see Tommy Fury in this chair, and he's a really good
Big
looking.
kid.
We got to give it to him, Jake. Okay, I don't know what.
No, he's good looking.
You
Really
know,
good looking.
he wants to fight you, and I think it's natural that people are going to go, okay, Jake gets past this test. Is it Anderson Silva, the big fish? Is it Conor McGregor? What about Tommy Fury? I mean, he's got to be on this card for a reason.
Yeah, look, it makes sense. You know, that's a huge fight, and it seems to be right in the palm of both of our hands. We do have to go out and perform on Sunday. And, you know, I want to see how the U.S. crowd receives him. I want to see if he has that star power this whole entire week. You know, he doesn't have the big pay-per-view numbers like Tyron Woodley has, or even a Ben Askren. Those guys sold tons of pay-per-views. Tommy Fury, no one's seen a Tommy Fury fight. Maybe the highlights.
He is big in the UK in his defense.
However, I still don't think they've actually tuned in to watch his fights. Like when you look at this pay-per-view numbers, it doesn't live up to it. So when you're making a fight with Jake Paul, it has to make sense from lots of things: height, weight, experience, you know, pay-per-view buys, notoriety, the ability to sell a fight, and the timing of it. Some of these guys that I want to fight right now, you know, Masvidal is talking smack. Okay, he's saying that Woodley's going to knock me out. After I knock out Woodley, I'd love to fight Masvidal. That's a bigger fight than Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. But will Dana White let him out of this contract? Kamaru Usman, will Dana White let him out of this contract? Some of these guys are tied up. Some of them don't make sense. Some of them, when it comes to signing the dotted line, they don't actually want to do it.
Has Dana White ever DM'd you?
He hasn't.
No? No?
Okay, speaking of winning over, Dana, whenever we talk about your potential future opponents, you ask any fan, journalist, or expert, they're going to say it's all going to be, half the list is going to be UFC guys. So do you envision one day that you're going to get so big that, like when Dana White got on board with Conor boxing Floyd Mayweather, Showtime pay-per-view was a giant ordeal, everybody made money on it. Do you see Dana eventually relenting if you keep proving that you're for real?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you'll have to. And at the end of the day, he's a businessman who has to look at his P&Ls, look at the bottom line and see, look, this is where we're not making money. This is where we are making money. We need more promotion. I want this fighter to be promoted. Maybe we have to do the Jake Paul fight. I'm only 24, you know?
Jake, we have to wrap. So why don't you, if you want to say anything to the camera, to the fans, to anybody else, you get the last word on the whole broadcast.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sunday, August 29th, get the pay-per-view. And if you're in Cleveland, come on to the show. I love you guys. Thank you all for the support. And I'm about to get this knockout. You already know it.
There is Jake Paul, Brian Campbell. I'm Luke Thomas. We are live no more in Cleveland, Ohio, but we'll see you tomorrow for the press conference. Until then, we'll see y'all later.
He's just gonna burn alive. It's gonna be embarrassing as fuck.
I think Jake, some of his antics, I don't think it's disrespect. I think it's a mental warfare because you got to recognize how much experience I have. I got to keep reminding myself he's a child. That, you know, he's doing things that somebody his age should be doing.
I think with every fight, my confidence grows and grows and grows. Beating Ben Askren, I was just like, damn, like I can really punch someone.
Jake is nervous about this fight. You know, he's nervous in the face-offs. He said, I see Fury haven't had no face-offs to see Fury. I've looked at somebody and I've seen Fury. I knew it was going to be over with in the first round. You can't say 2.5 fights that you've done that.
I'm naturally talented, gifted, naturally athletic, naturally powerful. I'm also just a really fucking hard worker, and I show up every single day, do every single thing right. That's what has made me a real sharp fighter. We have to go 8 hard rounds. I'm ready.
I just got you.
Floyd Mayweather isn't a businessman, he's a businessman.
Boxing. Boxing. That's a boxing. Yeah. This thing, the glasses, right? I'll see what I can do in the morning.
his pro boxing debut, Tyron Woodley. You're going to hear from the fighters. We're going to watch them work out. We're going to entertain with song and dance. Maybe meet a few locals. You never know. They might invade the set. You never know.
And we're gonna sweat until we collapse in heat. And
This isn't quite the Versace mansion where we were garishly wet under
right.
those robes.
We're also across the street from the bus depot, so the vagrants and everyone else behind us, I can't speak for them, but we will have a lot of fun.